Call our city council meeting to order and ask everyone to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do you need my glasses?
No, I have them.
Take your time, Brian. We have 10 seconds.
This is going to be worse than my broken leg by the Chihuahua, I think.
Oh dear, what did I do with oh, here it is. Okay.
Take
The roll, please.
Belzec,
Here.
Wistic,
Here.
Kenny,
Here.
Marquez,
Here.
McIver,
Here.
Shower,
Here.
Vaughn,
Here.
all present.
We have a quorum. The next item is questions, comments, and announcements of a general nature. Does anyone in the audience want to address the council now before we start into our agenda? It does not have to be on any of the subject matter that we're talking about this evening. But please feel free to come up to the microphone if you'd like to address the council. Hello.
My name's Heather Conroy. I live in Darien. I moved here in 2016 and we love it. I joined the Women's Club of Darien. It's just great place to live. I'm trying to get my parents to move here and everything. But the issue with sternogenics, is obviously still on the table. I keep going to Willowbrook's meeting. I actually meet up with a group of concerned citizens regarding the issue. And with Willowbrook doing their next round of testing and Burr Ridge doing their testing, and with the AG lawsuit and everybody getting on board, I'm wondering why Darien hasn't done indoor and outdoor testing like those places, especially in the schools, but not just the schools, in an area around here, just to see what the levels are. We're in the plume. You can see that on the NADA map. So I'd like to know what the levels are here, taxpayer. I'd like to see.
We are part of the testing program that the EPA is doing. They have locations in Darien where they're doing testing.
Sure, but I'm asking Darien itself to do testing on their own. So Willowbrook has done that on their own. They've gotten someone to come in and do testing for in and outdoor. They're doing it again because of some discrepancies. And so Burr Ridge doing testing as well on their own. I'm saying not to just wait on the EPA or take what the EPA is saying. I'm saying to do it on your own. I'm seeing a lot of things in the news with the EPA, and I don't really trust them right now. And I trust my city, and I want to stay here, but I'm almost at the point like this has been going on for so long, and this is every day. You can't see it, you can't smell it, so it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. I want to know what the levels are here. I'd like Darien itself to do their own testing.
Heather, where would you suggest, when you say you'd like to see those, where would you like to see that done, like at Elizabeth High
So
School?
I'd like to see Mark DeLay done. I'd like to see Lace School done. Lace would take care of, the junior highs right there. But Mark DeLay, Lace, and then maybe a couple other residential areas, in Darien, obviously, and not right next to each other, but just to give us a sense of the levels that we're dealing with.
The EPA testing is at Mark DeLay or close to it at this time in the high school.
They had 3 sites in Darien. The city council months ago has talked about potentially doing our own sampling.
Yes.
And part of the discussion was to defer that until we do get results from the EPA and some of the other testing results. It wasn't to defer it necessarily forever, but it was to see what comes with the EPA and those types of results before the city did spend money on testing and analyzing. So that's not something the city council has said no to yet. But in one discussion, several months ago, the city council passed a resolution with a unified position on sterogenics. One is that they shut down, and the city now has joined in the litigation with the Attorney General DuPage County State's Attorney. So we're involved in that really to get them shut down. And there might be a point where I think the city council may conduct or hire a firm to conduct their own testing, but at this point it was not authorized.
So I'm just saying that, like, I see, the EPA does theirs, and then Willowbrook goes and does theirs. The EPA does Burr Ridge, and then Burr Ridge does theirs. I'm saying let's not wait for those, what we know is going to come back from the EPA at any amount. It's no. So I'm saying that why don't you do it now, like right now?
Well, the question, I think, earlier when we discussed, not that it's a bad idea to do that, but it would be more meaningful after the EPA was able to get their results and get analyzed, and in Willowbrook, only because of the proximity, when they would get their results and get those analyzed. Part of the discussion has also focused on what happens when you get those test results. What would happen if we took those results and we had our own results? What would come out of those? And I think the meaningful test results are the ones coming from the EPA, because ultimately, on chemicals and things like this, there's other agencies that are ultimately making final decisions. So I think where the desire was by the city council going forward was that this place be shut down, and that's the number one I think interest that the council expressed.
Okay. And I understand that. I'm just saying, since you're part, or I'm not sure if you've been fully accepted onto the Attorney General's, like, officially on their lawsuit.
Yes,
Like,
we have filed.
You
yes.
have been officially accepted?
So has Willowbrook has filed.
Well, Willowbrook talked about that at their last board meeting, and they said they weren't officially accepted. Like, it's known that it's going to
I should say
happen,
you're
but
right.
it's
We
not
filed-
official.
We
yet.
did file. You're correct. The judge. You are right. The judge has not ruled on that, but the city council has taken action authorizing it, and our city attorney filed to join in the lawsuit. But you are correct. The judge has not heard that specific yet. And there's been some other legal issues, like Sterigenics is trying to make this into federal court instead of state or local, or instead of state.
Yeah,
court.
that's what's
So there's
pending
some of those
right now.
things.
That's what's
going on.
pending right now and
What-
should be
yes.
known in 3 weeks, is
The
Willowbrook
federal
stated.
courts have to make that decision, yes.
Yeah, the
Whether to
Sterigenics
accept it.
has 3 weeks to respond, and then the judge will make a decision on if it's in federal court or state court. And I get that, and then you can go forward from there
Right,
on the lawsuit. But the EPA is not sitting there, like, on the lawsuit. You're on the lawsuit with the Attorney General, and I just think if you have your own data and your own tests, that's powerful, and that you're really doing something. You're not just sitting around and waiting for the EPA, who is, like, furloughed right now, and they don't even have where they can get those tests analyzed with the laboratory. And if the furlough goes into, say, March or something, now you're looking at even more pushback. You guys can start going on this right away.
But I think that what the council also had talked about previous meetings, what does that really do at this point for the city? If we had readings or we had test results, then what do you do with those results?
I spoke to Bob Berlin, what Willowbrook is doing, and this is why they're testing is the EPA says you have 1 part per million. They measured 6. All right, so they're saying we're completely off by what you're measuring. Shut them down until you figure out what the heck's going on. And so really that's what they think the
Yeah.
lawsuit is you're showing completely different data. And I think maybe that's what you're asking
Yes,
for. is that
exactly.
what are we comparing apples to apples, or are we seeing something different?
Exactly.
I don't know, maybe we could
Yes.
reach out to see if that would help the lawsuit any, if we had one test that compares to, I don't know, whatever EPA's testing, and see if those are the same or different, if that would help as evidence for Bob Berlin and DuPage County.
That
for
would
We
the-
might
definitely
fall into the
help.
same basket that they're experiencing now, that the EPA has their readings, we have something totally different.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah, so that's their argument
that's-
is that,
Yeah,
that
that-
you're
so,
not
so what,
accurate.
so
we
what,
shut 'em down
what
till
have we
figure it out.
gained, you know, in
Well,
that?
And try to get an injunction on them in the meantime,
We can't do that. It's the EPA that has the authority.
Right, but the Attorney General themselves can ask for the
Oh, yes,
injunction.
yes, I'm sorry,
That's
yes,
what you-
yeah.
yeah,
And
yes.
you're on
Yeah.
there, so.
well, I thought, Brian, that we did have someone that came in and we talked to them about testing. I thought we were going to get some information about like what the cost would be to do independent testing. I thought that was also part of what we were looking at. And I don't know that we ever circle back on
Well,
that.
the only way what happened after that discussion was the city council's resolution of
Right,
the unified
but
position.
I didn't think that necessarily took the testing discussion off the table.
Well, I guess it depends how you look at it. It wasn't something in that resolution that was included that we were going to do, and I had recalled that at that point we weren't going to test. There was so much up in the air, and the EPA was testing. Certainly if the council would
I mean,
like.
even the EPA came back and said their tests were inclusive. So I think, to this resident's point, I think it would be worthwhile for us to find out what it would cost to have maybe three or four different locations to do our own independent testing and have that in our back pocket.
Absolutely.
From a comparative saying, look, we did our own data collection, and this is, it could be good news, like there's
Yeah.
nothing, and then everyone's feeling good that,
We
okay.
we can speak to, I forgot the consultant's name now.
Yeah.
Well, I think we had a consultant in at one of our meetings to kind of give an overview.
It was whoever Burridge was using, and I think
Yes.
whoever
No, it's
District
not.
86.
That's
Yeah,
right.
The school
It is
district was using.
Burridge is using them.
Yeah,
yes.
and
But I think there was
school
or discussion, I don't know if it was concern, it was discussion at the council of the individual and, have they tested for this before? I would tell you if the city council was interested in testing, I would go to the company that Willowbrook's using. They're already involved with this, they're doing testing, and I think that would be the most practical way to go.
Yeah.
Do we know? So can we get a quote from them?
Yeah, we can get a quote.
Easily.
Well, I have talked to them already, and again, only because we did not have direction to go get tests, I didn't bring any of those back, but
I didn't know that the one action necessarily put the other one to rest, because, I think the testing just, I think that it would be important for us to know, for ourselves.
Do we know how in proximity of Sterigenics to the testing sites for Burridge and Willowbrook? So like if those
The EPA ones are on the map. They
Right,
showed
okay.
those.
But where I'm going with this, if let's suppose they were within say a mile, okay, and we have their results and we're farther than a mile, it would give us a better idea.
Absolutely.
Well, that's
yeah.
what we are now. They're using
And do we know
they're using the high school, and I thought they were using Mark DeLay.
you're talking about the EPA?
The
But are you
EPA's.
talking about Willowbrook?
right? They're smaller.
What did Willowbrook
Oh, they're
pick?
independent. They're independent ones. So Burridge and Willowbrook.
Brian, I think it would be worthwhile to have that
price.
conversation with whoever
price.
Willowbrook is using, because even Community Park or the library, I mean, they're close to the high school down or Hinsdale South, but
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people, they just built a new playground, and maybe it's something that the Park District might share with us. I don't know if there's a
Right.
significant cost.
We had reached out to the park. I don't recall exactly.
Park District give us something? I
Well,
don't
exactly the
regardless,
discussion,
it's,
but
you
I
know.
think also when the EPA had announced they were going to do testing, we had requested probably 6 locations instead of, I think,
Yes.
the 3 they picked, and they were locked in on 3.
Okay, so
but-
maybe we look at the other 3 we suggested, and
Yeah.
for
Well,
ourselves.
we're even farther away than the ones that they did end up choosing.
Yeah. But
And then they could certainly help interpret the data that the EPA
We'll get
has.
prices. We'll get prices
Yeah,
from the consultant
sure.
at Willowbrook. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, Steve Leopoldo, Darien resident. Heather kind of spoke a little bit on the stuff I wanted to speak about as well. I am interested to see, given that the federal EPA is shut down, we're not getting test results back. And there's some urgency around the test results because that is what's going to be providing evidence to the state's attorney, the attorney general. Willowbrook is using GHD for their continuous testing. They have currently, looks like 5 sites, and the total cost for that's estimated to be $125,000. The EPA is only doing outside ambient air testing. They are not doing air testing inside. And there are some theories out there, some documents that say that ethylene oxide concentrations can be higher inside buildings. So my particular concern is if we do conduct testing, that we do both inside and outside testing. Particularly, I'd love if the city of Darien could partner with District 61, 63 to potentially do testing inside and outside of places like Lace, Concord, our various elementary schools, because young people are the ones that are most susceptible to the damage ethylene oxide does. Young people breathe more just by the nature of their
Well, we certainly can
bodies.
contact the schools to see if they want to participate in paying for these studies.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to be going to them as well and suggesting that they reach out. So I think it'd be very helpful. But that's all I wanted to add to
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you.
Did anyone else want to address the council? Then let's move on to the approval of the minutes of December 17th, 2018. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Schauer, seconded by Alderman Belzak. Any additions or deletions for the clerk? Anything, guys? We didn't review the minutes before since we were in
Oh,
executive session.
I take it back, Mayor. I do have one small thing. In the minutes, they talk about the Weeblos doing the Pledge of Allegiance. Weeblos is spelled incorrectly. They've got it spelled as W-E-E-B-L, and it's
Is it-
Webelo, W-E-B-E-L-O.
Okay, misspelling there,
It's a,
yeah.
believe it or not, I was a Weeblo when I was a kid, so that's how I caught it.
There's not an S at the end.
You're-
Is it a plural, Webelos?
Webelos, yes. It's plural.
Okay. So that typo, so noted.
Roll.
Anything else for any changes? Then the roll, please.
Shower,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Marquez,
Aye.
McIver,
Abstain.
Vaughn.
Aye.
They've been approved.
Okay. The minutes have been approved.
That's harsh.
Okay. The receiving of communications, I wanted to share some information with all. All of the council members received an email from staff regarding the cancellation of the Citizen of the Year this year, after 47 years. The committee was not able to come up with a candidate. And I just want to go over the criteria that the Citizen of the Year Committee has to deal with in choosing. They had some nominations, but they did not feel that the nominations were qualified or fit the criteria that has been established for the presentation of the award. And the criteria is the diversity of activities for the candidate. This is the person that they would choose. Their diversity of activities, the length of their service, the degree of their involvement in our community, and the impact to the city of Darien. Those are the criteria that the Citizen of the Year Committee works for. Now, what was most troubling about this whole situation was how much they reached out from the time that we announced that we were looking for a Citizen of the Year nominees. They were on Direct Connect every week. They sent letters to the Women's Club, Chamber of Commerce, all the members of the Chamber, the Indian Prairie Library, the Park District, the Lions Club, the Kiwanis Club, the BFW, Cancer Smashers, DYC, all the churches, Rotary Clubs, and school districts. No one presented a candidate, a nominee for the position. So when the chairman of the committee approached me about the situation, and they do not share who the nominees are with me at all. I have no idea who the nominees are and were. And they told me about the predicament that they had, that they didn't feel confident that the nominees lived up to these criteria. And pointing out the fact that we have a room downstairs with a number of citizens that have been previous Citizens of the Year, they felt obligated to live up to that criteria in picking someone. So that's when they approached me and said, we don't feel confident that we have a nominee this year. And when I said, if that's the way you feel, I don't think we should move forward. We should not be picking anyone that they don't feel lives up to the criteria. Now, there's a lot of misunderstanding out in the community about the Citizen of the Year. We, the City of Darien, City Council, does not choose this person. It's the residents of Darien that nominate a person to be the Citizen of the Year. And then we delegate to our committee that is appointed by this City Council, the Citizen of the Year Committee, goes and looks at the nominees and then makes a presentation to us. And when the chairman of the Citizen of the Year Committee approached me to tell me that they did not feel confident in a candidate this year, I said, then we cannot go forward. And that is when we decided, and we sent out the email to you and to everyone to let them know that we were not going to be moving forward with the Citizen of the Year this year. And no one is more important and more disappointed than me, because this would be my last opportunity to congratulate a Citizen of the Year. So it's a tremendous disappointment to me that we are not moving forward on that. And I guess the upside of the whole situation is that I think we've woken up a lot of people in the city who may have put off making a nomination for a Citizen of the Year earlier this year, and not make them wait till next year, not wait to put in a nomination for a Citizen of the Year. So I just wanted to explain to the viewing public and anyone else, we've seen a lot of very poor comments on our Facebook page when we announced that we were not going forward. People thinking that this city council goes into the neighborhoods and picks the candidate. That would be the absolute worst thing. And that would make the position so political if we did something like that. And that's why we do it the way we do, and allow our residents to nominate people within the community. So I wanted that to be out on the record. Everyone knows that. And I congratulate our Citizen of the Year committee. They've been getting a lot of criticism, even though they don't deserve it. So I want to make the record clear that hopefully next year we'll have a lot of nominations for our Citizen of the Year. So thank you very much. Any questions about that?
Just one, and I talked to Mr. Mallers earlier at church on Saturday night, and one of the things I brought up is there are so many different people that contribute to the city of Darien over the years. Unfortunately, they do not pay tax dollars to the city of Darien. They live in the unincorporated areas. And is at any point are we able to? Because I know this is based on an ordinance, and and their guidelines, and I understand, guidelines they're not set in stone. But is there any way that because there's a person that comes to my mind right now that lives by me, that's in the unincorporated portion of the town, and they would love to be in the city of Darien, but they just where they're located isn't feasible. At some point, there's plenty of people that over the last 50 years have done a great deal of service and work for the city of Darien that deserve that award, but because they have an S or a W in their address, they're not eligible to make it, and I think that's just unfortunate.
That's interesting that you mentioned that, because I was going to bring that up as well. I could probably nominate about 5 people, 6 people who live either in Hinswood or in the area behind Eisenhower over there, where it's people have come to me for years and said, "What about Alice Brennan? What about this?"
No, that's who I had in mind. I wasn't saying nothing. Okay.
And to be honest, we all know that that's not Darien, and yet those people have served Darien throughout their lives and made significant contributions, and that is a shame. My other point is that Darien is a wonderful volunteer community, and it's sad that in our 50th anniversary year we don't have a Citizen of the Year, because this is our 50th anniversary. December we'll be 50 years old, and I've had people come to me and say, "I understand that you can't find somebody, or the committee couldn't find somebody, but could you celebrate the volunteer spirit that exists in Darien? Can you still have something this year, because it's the 50th anniversary, where there's a celebration of the city and its citizens?" Time Magazine doesn't always have a person of the year, but Time Magazine will sometimes name a group. And I'm wondering, because it's our 50th and it's unique not to have a Citizen of the Year, could we still look at having some type of celebration where we celebrate the residents of the city of Darien for their volunteer spirit? Just an idea I'm throwing out there.
Well, December's a year away, and I can leave it up to the council to plan a 50th anniversary party.
Well, if the council's willing to discuss it when we hit budget meetings, maybe that's something we can discuss. is allocating some funds to do something like that. And then we can celebrate the residents of the city. Because I was very disappointed to read some of the disparaging remarks people wrote.
Well, they're clueless. It's obvious that they're clueless.
I mean, there was mention of Robin, was his wife Char?
Rob and Charvium have already been the citizens of the
somebody
year.
said they should be citizens of the, well, they were citizens of the year. You know, and so
Unfortunately, we're in a day and age where people get all their news off of based on 140 characters, and that's about it. So.
that's about it.
Unfortunately.
It is unfortunate, though.
Yeah.
How many people did we get to?
I don't remember if they said how many nominees
How many?
that they received.
No, they typically
See,
don't tell. I mean,
they don't
it's
share.
very secretive
Yeah,
group,
it's
but-
very secretive. They don't share the names of the nominees with me at all, and they stay, and that stays privileged information for the committee alone to know until they take the wraps off the next year.
You know, the other thing is, and Kathy's right with regard to the criteria. I chaired this committee 1989, 1990, and 1991. Ed Colby, Mickey Pankow, and I were breast off were the three people our committee selected. And the criteria was the same in 1989, 90, and 91 as it is today.
And that's
Didn't change.
the troubling part of it. You're suggesting we go to unincorporated areas. We've established criteria for the city of Darien, and I understand, and I can think of members of the Lions Club who are very active in Darien, but they don't live in Darien. And we have a room full of people down, 47 candidates have been citizens of the year, and I think we would do a disservice to them if we suddenly changed
Shame.
that criteria.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. It's because they gave to the city of Darien. They were elbow to elbow with the same people that we were mentioning that deserve the award as much as they. I don't think you're watering it down at all. I think you've got people that have been part of this community for 50, they're paying the gas tax, they're paying the restaurant tax, they're going to our grocery stores, they're spending money in the city of Darien, and because they have an S or a W in their address, we can't give them a citizen of the year. I'm sorry, I don't agree with that at all.
How often is the criteria? You mentioned it doesn't change in over 50 years. Could that be something the committee look at maybe for next year if it's potentially open for someone outside of Alderman
I think a
Kennedy
couple of years
mentioned, or
ago,
no?
Kathy can correct me, I think we clarified the role about people who are, what was it meant by an elected official?
Yeah, currently elected officials can't be citizens.
And it's
of
an
the year.
elected official, it's like one of us. We can't be citizens of the year. But you could have somebody who's on school board or somebody, but we're the elected officials that can't be.
I was just mentioning the criteria as Alderman Kennedy was mentioned. Maybe they can just, I don't know, revisit that. I know you always mention for the city of Darien, but as Alderman Kennedy mentioned that, they pay the taxes, they donate their time, and in theory, they're donating time to the city in which they don't live in. So to a certain point, they're going above and beyond. It's like me donating time to Woodridge, and I don't live in Woodridge, right? So to a certain extent, as Alderman Kennedy's pointing out, is that they're donating into Darien, even though they're not part of the city. So I'm just wondering if that could be just brought up to the committee just to discuss, and this was an idea as he brought up.
Moving on.
But
Not
that
tonight,
decision,
apparently.
but the decision, of that does stay with the council. The committee would just, whatever guidelines the
Committee,
council
it's up to the
has. So
committee.
it's really more for the council, a discussion for the council, should they want to take that up.
Goal setting.
We're,
Goal setting or goal setting.
well, we had Bonnie here, if you recall,
Year ago.
last year, yeah, because of the struggle they were having coming up with nominations from groups. And my goodness, we gave them more, we gave them even more direction, and they actually literally sent letters to all these organizations asking, what more can they do than what they are doing? So I'll leave it up to if any council members, does anyone feel that you want to have a discussion about that we could do a committee of the whole anytime, for heaven's sakes, before a city council meeting to change a direction on the citizens of the year?
I actually like the idea of expanding to people who serve the city, if you just happen to buy a house, just out, right across the border, but you feel like Darien is your hometown, you just happen to live in an unincorporated area, and you all of your volunteer work is here, everything, your kids go to school, you shop. I mean, maybe there is a way to, the title maybe it's time to morph it into something more like I don't know, a servant of the year, although servant sounds bad, but whatever the right word would be, that it's just, I mean, times change. The demographics of the city have changed. I mean, in 50 years, this used to be kind of an island and surrounded by a lot of rural areas. And now, the borders kind of touch each other for other areas. I mean, maybe it's time to look at that, and it would be a good topic of conversation and, of kind of changing the direction of that to be more inclusive and not so exclusive.
Maybe we can ask past recipients who have won this award what are their thoughts too. I'd be curious to know. So the past 47 recipients, who maybe last 10 years, what are their thoughts if this was opened up? So, since, they're the ones that won it, put the time and effort, and received the honor.
I mean, I think that, the things that they do in order to get nominated, would still be very similar. It's just a matter of where their, address might be.
Typically you get people who serve to the community, and they're serving from their heart. They're the type of people, they're not going out and
glory seeking,
being advocates
No.
for themselves for these
Right.
kinds of things.
Right.
The ironic thing is the Hinswood people all have a Darien, Illinois 60561 zip code.
Well, that's because the poor postal service just
Right.
can't figure out how to
And they
divide
get
it
our
up.
and they get our neighbors magazine.
Yeah. You explained to some of those residents over there, they think they live in Darien, and they don't realize they're unincorporated.
Well, if it was discussed at goal setting, that would give time to, effectuate any changes the council had, so that makes sense, I
Sounds
think,
good.
to do that.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay, I'll move to the mayor's report,
Oh.
and, yes.
I have a communication.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. This is something I've talked to Dan about and to Steve Manning about. We have a 5-acre parcel of land that's just north of Creekside Lane off of Kearney Road. And it's in unincorporated DuPage County. And we have a person who's purchased that property, who's made improvements to the property, new fencing, et cetera, et cetera. And her goal is to build a red barn, raise animals, create a petting zoo, grow vegetables, and have a school bus come in there 3 times a week for the petting zoo and selling vegetables, kind of like the farm over there on 63rd Street. And of course, we have 5 homes that back up to that 5 acres of property. And those people are very concerned about having a business like that behind them. They're not so much concerned about her growing vegetables and growing a farm, but they're concerned about a school bus coming in 3 times a week, children coming on that school bus, vegetables being sold, a petting zoo with animals, pigs, and she's planning on having all of this back there. And so we've made a lot of contacts. The individual who we've gotten the most help from is Greg Hart, our county board District 3 rep. We contacted Krajewski, and I think there's a woman who was recently elected for District 3. Neither one of those 2 have gotten back to us. And Dan is aware of this because he and I have talked, Steve Manning, we've talked. There are certain rules that apply to a 5-acre parcel of land. And Greg just got back to me today, and he said that pursuant to state law and specifically county zoning, if a property is over 5 acres, which it is, and the primary use is raising livestock or growing crops, then the use is exempt from county building and zoning codes, and we unfortunately have no jurisdiction over its use. In short, if the owner stays out of the special management areas like the wetlands and things like that, and there are some wetlands there, and only uses the property for raising livestock and/or growing crops, she would be exempt from our local building and zoning codes and could build without permits. Any change that has to take place at the state level. That said, he said the state statute does not exempt agricultural uses from developing in special management areas such as wetlands and floodplains. and that the letter the owner sent to the county is still being reviewed by the county. And the county has some concerns relative to the educational use. The county's concerned about school buses coming in there on that property, children going to petting zoos. And he says, we're still looking into it. He says, and I will keep in touch. But this is really disconcerting for the people who are living with their backyards facing that property.
Dan, that falls within our 1.5 mile purview of a project, doesn't it?
While it does, again, this is very unique, based on what Alderman Marquez had mentioned, that there's certain exemptions in this particular case based on the lot, the size of the lot, and proposed use, and with the state basically trumping the code, local code, including the counties, we're limited to what we can do at all.
It's no public hearing, no special use, none of that
Well,
where
yeah.
we normally are able to comment and
Correct.
give testimony.
And now, Joe, Alderman Marquez just mentioned that there is some wetlands on that property. Would the wetlands bring them under the 5-acre limit, which would cause the county to have more jurisdiction?
The total parcel is the total parcel. The wetlands will have to be treated in such a way that they're not disturbed.
Right.
So,
But it
again,
doesn't reduce the size of the
No.
property?
No.
Where she wants to build the red barn is directly behind the house that's on the corner as you come into our subdivision down Kearney Road. That road that we maintain would be the road used for the school buses to come in, for the and for all of that. And again, they're not as if she wants to grow vegetables, let her grow vegetables. If she wants to have a barn, let her have a barn. But they're concerned about the livestock. They're concerned about the school buses coming in, depositing the children 3 times a week, the selling of the produce. They're very concerned about what that's going to do to their property values.
Would their ingress, the school bus that is, any public ingress into that property come on our Kearney Road?
Yeah.
It wouldn't come from the other side of her property?
No, they can't come from that other side. Her property extends from Kearney Road, and it curves around, and the end portion of it actually touches where the golf course is. That's how big that piece of property is.
That's not the Renzi house, is that
No,
what
it's
they're taking over?
actually it's where Marcy lived. It's where the daughter lived.
That side, okay, right next to the Millers.
Yeah.
Okay, or Mrs. Miss
So
Miller.
the pond is there, and she wants to build the red barn close, not by the pond, but actually closer. She put up a very nice fence. She put chicken wire behind it. She put all new fencing in the backyard. She's made improvements to the property, so I don't want anybody to misconstrue that. Our concern is if we have a school bus coming in 3 times a week, we have animals, livestock, these people are concerned about what it's going to do to their property values. They're concerned about the noise. They're concerned about varmints on their property coming through. We have nothing against vegetables and people growing produce. What we have concern about is...
Well, that's our road. That's
Well,
our road,
that's
Dan.
our road.
We have
Correct.
some control.
And really, there's 3 issues. The issues are the agricultural use. So if the agricultural use based on the 5 acres is allowed, as the county and state have recited at this point, although nothing's been final yet, that's one portion. The second portion of it is the educational process or purpose of this, and that educational process can or does the county code in this case, allow educational processes on a private piece of property. And is there a zoning for that? Number 3 is the actual proposed retail use, which could be the farm stand itself. I refer to it as a farm stand. So while one issue may be resolved, 2 other issues could be at hand. We're watching it closely. I know the county has not basically made any decisions yet, but I think one follows the other.
What makes you feel there's a demand for,
She's done
buses
this-
and stuff
she-
to come
She's
through?
done this in other areas where
Okay.
she's developed these type of projects. She's got 2 or 3 of these. The house, she's remodeled the house. She's going to get married to the gentleman who's living in the house, so they will live there on this property. she went to each one of these 5 homes, and she told people what she was going to do, and she would like their support. And she told us there was going to be a hearing on it. Well, we know for a fact there's not going to be a hearing. Greg told us there's not going to be a hearing. The county goes through their procedures, but we don't get to go to the county and say we object to it. In fact, one gentleman whose name I won't mention, Dan knows who I'm talking about, sarcastically said, if you don't want it to happen, force annex the 5 acres of property into Darien.
Do we have it surrounded?
And then, yeah, I mean, it's right next to us. We could, it's contiguous.
Do we have it surrounded? We have to be contiguous on, was
you
it
have
3?
to surround basically like.
Yeah,
not.
at least 3 sides.
Two sides for
Yeah.
sure.
2 sides.
I'm
I
not
thought
sure.
I thought it was 3.
Well, she's got carriage greens over here, and she's got us over here. But she has, to the north is Mrs. Miller, and to the west is the family bought Renzi's old house and remodeled it. That's not Darien
No.
either.
No.
It's interesting.
Would this be more buses than someone living next to a school, or less?
She said there would be smaller buses. They'd be buses where maybe you'd have 20 children at a time,
Okay.
3 times a week.
Such an out-of-the-way place to throw something like this.
Yeah. It is. So that's we're dealing with this. Greg Hart's been real helpful. Krajewski and the other person never responded to our concerns, and Greg said he's going to keep in touch with me and let me know what's going on with the county. All I know is I've got a number of residents upset. So that's one thing. The other thing is a little bit nicer. Back in December, we voted to get back involved in the peer jury program. And Deputy Chief Mike DeVries from Downers Grove, Mike was instrumental in pushing this idea of doing this. Mike sent me an email. He says, we've got the peer jury up and running. He said, we have 16 students from four different high schools who are part of it. They had their first hearing. He says, we had 4 cases from 3 different municipalities. 4 offenders received 22 hours of community service. 4 received had to do a letter of apology, and 2 had to do reflective essays. He says, in the next meeting is January 24th, and they got 5 cases already for that. So he says he's really happy that Darien became a part of this. So I just want to let you know, update you on the fact that that started, and we're part of that now.
Which was founded by police officer Michael Campo.
Well, actually, I had it in Oak Lawn, and I suggested it to Ed Musial, and we had a meeting here with Aurelia Paczynski, who got it going in Cook County, and we decided to let it go to the county. Lori Munchensky ran it at the county level, and Mike Campo became our liaison.
Right.
Thank you.
Alderman Kenny?
Ironically enough, my communication is about a property at 7620 Bainbridge, which is in my ward. And you know what's really, really amazing about that property? It's surrounded entirely by the village of Downers Grove. Up until last week, if you'd put a gun to my head, I wouldn't have been able to tell you, what houses, 6 houses I had in my ward that were there. I got a chance to find them. She's got an issue with some rear yard drainage. We got Mr. Conback involved, and I don't know so much we can do on this one, but yeah, so 7620 Bainbridge, if you didn't know, guess what? It's in the city of Darien. And it's surrounded by Downers Grove. So I don't know how that happened, but anything's possible is what I'm going to say. Okay.
Thank you. Any other communications? Let's move on to the one item under the mayor's report. And sadly, I have to announce that one of the candidates recently gave me his resignation. John Larada will not be able to serve, but I'd like to have a motion to reappoint Michael Desmond to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and Michael is here this evening. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Schauer, seconded by Alderman Marquez. Any discussion? Then the roll, please.
Shower,
Aye.
Marquez,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
McIver,
Aye.
Vaughn,
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays. The motion passes.
Michael, you want to come up and be sworn in? Okay, do you have the little...
Yeah, do you want to?
Sure. Okay. I'm going to swear you in, Mike. Sure. Okay, come on all the way up here. Okay. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly, and state your name,
I, Michael Desmond,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the Planning and Zoning Commission
of Planning and Zoning Commission
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
Mayor.
much. Okay,
Thank
and
you.
I think you have your card. You signed it once before, so this is just a reappointment card.
Okay.
So,
Do I
thank you
need
very
to-
much for,
I need-
yes.
Do I need to sign this? or-
No,
No,
you
on the
already
reappointments, you're
did, but
fine.
thank you. The council wants to thank you for serving.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I know you had an interesting discussion this past week.
Every week seems to be an interesting.
Thanks,
joke. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Every week's interesting.
Yes.
Luke keeps me hopping.
Okay, Lou, yes,
I
that's
thought,
right.
I thought he was here to object to the motion, but
right.
Hi, Dan. How
Our
are you? Yeah.
honorable
Hey,
chairman of the planning
Mike,
commission.
Mike, that's
Yes.
hard for an old guy to keep you jumping like that.
Thank you for serving.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move to the city clerk's report. Madam
No
Clerk?
report?
No report. Let's move to the city administrator's
Ditto,
report.
no report, Mayor.
No report. Let's move to the department head information or questions. How about the police chief? Do you have a report this evening?
There is no report this evening. Typically, there is. However, the monthly report for December is also the annual report. And typically, what happens is that you give a set of numbers because it's the end of the year, and then those numbers change because you have an opportunity to go back through the year and determine which cases are unfounded, which ones did not occur in your jurisdiction, and refer them, those type of things, so you have an accurate count. And so that takes a little bit more time. So that the next report, you'll probably get two. You'll probably get a January monthly report and the 2018 annual report.
Okay. Any questions for the chief? Alderman Clistic?
Thank you, Mayor. Quick question. I did notice some of the new police cars come into the village. They look pretty sharp. Resident wanted me to ask, how many police cars do we have, and like how many do we, generally keep, or justify how many we have? So I wasn't able to answer that question. So I don't know if you could address how many cars we have, and I think it's every like 100,000, or when the end of life of the vehicle is generally when we change it. But how many cars do we usually keep for a department?
12.
12. Okay.
Now, we had it was a 4-year contract that expired already
Or your contract on?
for the police cars, for the previous contract for our police cars. When we the last time
The
we
loan, you're
purchased.
talking, we had a loan.
I'm sorry, the
yes.
loan, yes.
Oh, loan.
Yes.
Okay. Because the
That-
cars
that-
are older than 4 years old.
Well, that's my point.
Okay.
The contract, the loan, whatever you want to call it, was for
Yeah.
4 years. But we found that we were able to keep the cars a little bit longer.
Okay.
Because they were doing very well. So now, when we rotate out and bring in the new cars, how many cars do you anticipate keeping on staff?
We'll probably keep 3.
Okay.
And those will be driven to training, other miscellaneous use.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Is that what you
Yeah,
needed?
yeah, just in general.
Okay. All right. And those cars are always on the street.
Yeah. They
go
get
from
used
one-
and abused. So.
Yeah, they go from one shift to the next.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions for the chief? Then for Dan Gombeck, Municipal Services, do you have any questions for Dan? Dan, I noticed the stripes down the street before the snow came.
Yes,
So that was the application of the product you were talking about?
that is correct.
What is it called?
It's that one's called I want to say GeoMelt. Well, we're looking at 2 different products we're using. The one is the GeoMelt, the other one is the anti-icing, de-icing, which is applied to a certain amount of salt, specifically for below freezing temperatures such as we have right now. We have not been able to conclude a full evaluation yet. I know that just in speaking with Chris over the last 2 storms since we've been utilizing it, it seems to have reduced limited salt usage. We don't have a good count for you at this point. Like I said, it's only been 2 snowstorms. And yes, it has saved us some time, if you want to say, in regards to getting out there on the primary streets, because that product that you see with the lines is de-icing or melting the snow away before it really sticks.
Okay. As usual, kudos to your staff. Our streets are always better than the county ones.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll pass that on to the guys.
I have a question for Dan on that product that is used to de-ice. Is it environmentally friendly?
Yes, it is. That's one thing we looked at when we were,
It's an agricultural product.
right.
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean
Well,
it's
based on the studies, it's economic, it's for, if it goes into a river, a stream, a bank, it's very, I'm not saying economic, agriculturally acceptable. It's, I won't say it's EPA acceptable, because that probably would be the wrong terminology.
Yeah, I know, like some
But
communities use like beet juice. That's their.
this is beyond beet juice. I'm not even sure if beet juice is manufactured anymore or
Yeah.
used.
But what I'm saying is, that seems like non-toxic. It's a byproduct of a vegetable.
This
or
is
whatever
along
you
the
use,
same
fruit,
lines.
vegetable.
It turns your highways pink.
Yeah,
Right.
right. But I'm just, I think that is a question that, when we're doing things and moving into future methods of taking care of our community, looking at the environmental impact is probably really
100%, yeah, that's what we looked at. And again, I think, I've been involved with, I'll call it research and study for this anti-icing product for at least 5 to 7 years. And 7 years ago, just the rate of the return on investment wasn't worth it. And again, now there's new products out there, and this is a proprietary product that we're using. It's very economically priced, and we're currently getting permission from the state for MFT funding use of this product as well.
Good, good.
Just for the benefit of the public and council, I know when, we're getting into budget season again, so when Dan presented this, along with all the information about it, we're already a year past that. So I know, Dan, when that was presented to the council, you had all that information, and certainly we'll have that all that available again as we, move into the next budget season, which is right around the corner.
Provided it keeps on snowing too, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so if it's, you said it's geomelt, so it is a sugar beet based product.
Correct, there's some other products in there
Right.
as well.
And it should help us use less salt as well. So
Right,
losing
right,
less
right.
salt.
That is
sort of
correct.
helps
Right,
out
but it's
the
like swapping
environment.
one evil for another. It's good to
Make
know
them
that
make
we're
sure.
moving in the
Yeah.
right direction.
Any other questions for, yes?
And quick comment on the geomelt. My postal delivery gentleman says it works great compared to Willowbrook and some other streets. So he's out there day in, day out, and he did notice that the Darien streets seemed to be better, and did see him put it down. So he mentioned it from third opinion that it does quite well. Quick question on the tri-state antennas. Is there a height requirement? As I noticed on the agenda, and
When you say a height requirement, the proposed agenda for this evening is for
Correct.
Public Works, and the antenna itself is to be placed at Public Works. So,
Okay.
again, whether it's 150 feet, 180 feet, the two towers are in place. So it's a matter of placement of an antenna is the bottom line. There's going to
Okay.
be another portion of this coming back to planning and zoning of where the antenna, if approved this evening, needs to beam from the Public Works to the actual fire station. So the fire station at this point is going to be coming back into the Planning and Zoning Commission for another tower at their station. Again, that's, ancillary to this first part.
okay, so it's different than like a radio wave. It's like a, I don't know, microwave direct
Correct.
signature. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And would there be any concerns of any residents or any of those? I anticipate not. Someone brought it up to as a concern. So.
No, we've
What
been
was
through
their
this
concern?
before.
With regards to what type of frequency you're using and power. So it's very similar, to the ComEd, you had the Wi-Fi, so they're just curious if this
smart
is a
meter
different,
concerns.
different or
Remember the smart meter concerns?
Yes.
if this is a
The-
different type of frequency or same or whatever, just in general.
It's all
so.
FCC controlled as well. So, while there is no apparent health concerns, I think is what you're trying to get to. We have not heard of any. I know in the past that we've conducted public hearings in respect to some of the cell towers. So there's been opinions for and against with no substantiation.
Okay, just general questions I had to feedbacks. So.
Okay, then let's move on to the treasurer's report. And did you want to read that off, or do I
Yeah,
get,
sure, I can
do I
read
get
that off.
lucky?
I can read that off. We're asking permission for warrant number 18-19-17, a general fund amount of $76,070.27. The water fund, $21,043.47. Motor fuel tax of $10,895.93. The capital improvement fund credit of $7,229.12. And then the state forfeiture fund, $118.47, for a total of $100,899.02. There are also a payroll in the general fund in the amount of $250,723.86, and the water fund payroll of $1,719 in the amount of $20,919.24, for a subtotal of $271,643.10.
Do I have a motion to approve the warrant? Alderman Marquez, seconded by Alderman Shower. Discussion?
Question.
Kenny? Yes.
$600 for council meeting taping. So that's every time we have a meeting, that's $600?
No, that it was a number of services, both for taping meetings and some professional consulting services when we did the transformation of the equipment.
Okay. And it's safe to assume that Alderman Vaughn's not an auxiliary police officer that's getting a name tag. Is that correct? I'm guessing?
You are correct.
A
It's a different Vaughn.
A different Vaughn.
Is that right?
I got no other questions.
Alderman Clistic?
Thank you, Mayor. Quick question on page 18, the AIS Consulting. We need a refresher. What was that one for the AIS Consulting? 4,900, page 18, at the very top of the page.
Oh, I only have up to page 13. What fund is it under?
City Expenditure General Fund.
The general fund?
Yeah, so AIS.
Was that the one in Public Works or Administration? I'm sorry, Tom.
The title's Consulting and Professional Monthly Managed Service, January 2019. It's one for $950 and one for $319.
Yeah, the AIS is our computer consultant. We use an outside company for all of our computer support. There's a number of projects they've been busy with, including some work at Public Works with the new gas monitoring system,
so that's
our
our
gas key system. But it's some of it is monthly. They do our backups, and we have a monthly contract where they do all of our support when we have problems and new computers.
Okay, gotcha. I was just curious what kind of consulting.
And I do have one more question. I apologize. In the water fund, DAS Enterprises for $4,839. Hauling Lines Club Shed / water digs. Is that for this project we have out here? Is it all part of it?
While that's part of it, that's a very de minimis part of it, and I know that's been broken out in all the invoicing for the shed, specifically for the hauling out, has been charged back to the Lions Club, and the remainder of that is for water main breaks.
Okay.
Spoils that
I think
are
the Lions
generated.
Club, Dan, was probably $128.
Yeah, I don't recall exactly what it was, but
For
very
she
de
shed?
minimis. I'm sorry?
For their she shed?
She shed, yeah.
Forget about it.
And we
Not sure
have
what that means, but-
billed out the Lions Club, and they've paid for all of our expenses. So we're just
There was
waiting
there was a short balance due, and I'm not sure if that was.
I'm glad you got
that was
Oh,
paid.
okay.
Yeah, that
All
was
right,
just
I'm sorry.
Joe had brought that in. So we're just, I think, an insurance question away, and I think they'll start with the shed.
Thank you.
One more quick question. On page 20, I noticed there's a hood repair for Aspen Auto Body for $1,375. Is that for like a police vehicle or?
It sounds like a police vehicle.
Well, I guess the
It
question
may
is,
have been. It may be Public Works as
Okay.
well.
I
Without
think
not
that was
looking
the
at.
vehicle, Dan, where the door came down at the
I'm
water
not sure if
plant.
that's the one. I know we had a couple accidents ourselves.
That'd be covered under insurance? Like if you have $1,000 deductible and say you'd only be paying $300, or how does that work?
There is a deductible. Typically, the deductible is about $2,000 per occurrence.
Yeah,
So-
now at IRMA it's $2,500. So any claims under that, we will just pay directly.
Okay, so
And then
2,500s are
as long as there's no
limit.
liability. If obviously anybody else is involved, we would send that to our insurance company. They would handle the
Okay.
claim.
That's all I have. Thanks.
Okay, on that warrant, so we have the roll. So the roll, please.
Marquez,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
McIver,
Aye.
and Vaughn.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays. The
Warrant has been approved.
Warrant has been approved.
All right, next warrant, the 1819 18 warrant.
The warrant, we're asking for approval, general fund, expenditures in the amount of $479,277.85. The water fund total of $169,721.81. The state drug forfeiture fund in the amount of $107.80. Equitable sharing fund in the amount of $42,161.64. The DUI technology fund in the amount of $226.20 for a total of $691,495.30. We also have a general fund and water fund payroll in the total of $253,363.71.
Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Kenny, seconded by Alderman Belzak. Discussion?
Just got one item on that. Henderson Products, so truck 101,
This is on Public Works.
Public Works, so $3,000 worth of repairs, $28,29.89. Is that, and we're budget time is coming around the corner. Is that one of the trucks something you might be looking to? Because that number six in my head. That seems like it gets a lot of repair work done on it.
Without not looking at the invoice again, Joe, I don't recall. That may be one of the trucks that recently also might be one of the newer trucks. Again, the same problem with the EGR.
Okay.
So some of the EPA controls on there.
So it says repair parts, so I know nothing. Henderson Products. Okay. All right. Thank you.
One correction, if you look at page 34, you have the date from January 21st of 19 through January 21st of 19. So I think that has to be corrected. On the very top, page 31, general fund expenditures from 121 to 121. I think the beginning date should be 1/1/19.
Oh, you're talking about the date on all of the pages.
Correct. I'm just looking at 34, but yeah, it looks like all the pages correct. So I don't think we spend all that money in one day. So if you look at the previous warrant, it goes from like December 2nd through the end of the year. So just a minor detail.
Good question. I've not noted. Yeah, that's true.
I don't have the same document in the clerk's book, so I'm bouncing, but I will make
Yeah.
sure that's corrected.
Yeah, it's
Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm
the
sorry.
first
Okay.
the first date needs
Yeah.
to be changed. Yeah. On the whole report, expenditure report. Okay. Any other discussion on this warrant? Then the roll, please.
Kenny?
Aye.
Belzak?
Aye.
Clistic?
Aye.
Marquez?
Aye.
McIver?
Aye.
Shower?
Aye.
Vaughn?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays. The motion passes.
Next item is standing committee reports. Do the chairman have reports? Alderman Marquez?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to announce, the Municipal Services Committee is going to meet next Monday night at 6:30 here in the council chambers. That's January 28th.
Alderman McIver?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Darien Police Committee had a meeting this evening at 6 p.m., and at that meeting, we approved the minutes from the November 19th 2018 Police Committee meeting. I will have those at the end of the meeting. In addition, the next meeting of the Darien Police Committee is scheduled for February 18th, 2019 at 6 p.m. in the Police Department training room, pending agenda items. And finally, the Darien Environmental Committee asked me to extend an invitation to everyone who would be interested to attend their meeting on January 28th at 7 p.m. in the Police Department training room to listen to a presenter from the Conservation Foundation to discuss a potential rain barrel program for Darien in 2019.
Could we put that in Darien Connect, maybe? Get more people to come.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Alderman. Alderwoman McIver, you mentioned the meeting on the 18th.
The 28th
28th.
of January.
Your police committee meeting? I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm back.
no.
I'm back a little bit now.
February
boy.
18th.
Joanne shorthand is kind of bad.
Yeah, the 18th, the city hall closed for President's Day, and we pushed the city council meeting to the 19th.
So
I would
for
assume that
February?
your committee would, yes, for
Okay,
February.
so we'll make that, our agenda had the wrong date, so we can make that correction.
Yes.
So the police committee will be meeting not on Monday, the February 18th, but on Tuesday, February 19th, pending agenda items.
Okay.
Okay, did you get the second part?
I did not.
Okay, so the Darien Environmental Committee extended an invitation to their meeting scheduled for January 28th, 2019
Probably too quick.
at 7 p.m.
Yes.
Alderman MacGyver, could that committee get out any of that information on rain barrels through the Direct Connect?
I could,
We've had information on the rain
Hilda
barrels out.
Gonzalez, yeah, or
we've had-
Lisa.
We've had that out, several months ago when the city had purchased one. We started getting more information out on Direct Connect.
Yeah, and so there's going to be a presenter about the rain barrel
Correct.
program from the Conservation Foundation at the January 28th meeting. So
Yes.
all are welcome to attend.
Okay.
I think
Alderman
that's all I
Schauer?
got.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our next Admin Finance meeting will be held on Monday, February 4th at 6 p.m. in our upstairs meeting room.
Thank you. Okay, we didn't have a chance to talk about any of the items on the consent agenda, so under this next questions and comments title, does anyone have any questions they want to ask about any of the items on the consent agenda? Alderman Kenny?
I just got two small ones. So on item double E, consideration of motion to approve a resolution accepting contract for Eternally Green Lawn Care. In the memo, the attachment, there is a document that they had to have notarized, and I couldn't help but noticing that the last name of the notary is the same as the last name of the owner of the landscaping company. And I just wanted to double check, make sure that wasn't if we had some kind of conflict with that. That's all. Yeah, go out of your way to get something notarized, and I see the same last name in the notary stamp as I do there. So I didn't.
Are you suggesting? Wait a minute.
I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just
Who's the officer of the company that signed the contract?
the president, James Webb.
Is he the notary?
No.
Okay.
They're okay?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Typically, that happens in a lot of companies. You have one of the employees is a notary. Yes.
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to mention, a lot of people question why the length of this. Municipal Services meets this time of year every year, and Mr. Gombat goes out and asks for quotes on all these materials. And he does that in anticipation of our budget discussions. He gets unit prices, and those unit prices then are applied to whatever we decide we're going to do with regard to ditch projects, street projects, et cetera. So, and in the past, Dan, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right, this has saved us a tremendous amount of money.
Yeah, it's twofold, actually. Number one, it gives us the opportunity to be out there early to make sure that we get the best competitive bids and or quotes, depending on what the situation is, and also gives us a great tool to come into budget season and to be, I think, very well prepared with pricing for forecasting, and I think that's been proven over the last several years. Again, and just to stress, a lot of the projects or the agenda items in here are all preliminary approvals. And then this way at least gives the vendor the opportunity that here's your placeholder. And again, we'll be going into these discussions very quick here.
I
Alderman Kenny?
did
Yes.
one last one. On item double F for 2019 street sweeping services, not an amount not to exceed $33,802, but if you actually look at the agenda memo, easy for me to say, agenda memo, there's an additional $6,500 for a total of $40,302. You know, what's the extra money for? You know, what happens if we have to hit that number?
Unfortunately, the waste that's generated from the sweepers is a special waste. So that has to be handled as a special waste, and that's what the dump fees to get rid of that debris.
Okay,
Is an estimate.
but is that?
It's not part of that. It's not part of that company. The account that it's coming out of
for something else.
is justified. Is I should say, identified, and it goes through a waste hauler then.
Okay. All right, then I'm done. Thank you.
Alderman MacGyver?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The item that I wanted to get some clarification on is item II for the letter of credit for Rolling Knolls subdivision. I had a meeting with residents, I think it was last week, and there were some, questions about, I guess they've had a couple of little issues here and there. Dan and I are meeting with those residents later this week. And specifically, this came up before the chance to meet with the residents and get some of these questions clarified. What I don't quite get from the memo is what the what the reduction is, because it talks about that it was reduced in 2016, the letter of credit, from $1,091,000 to $157,000. And then you talk about that during the maintenance period, which starts, if this is accepted tonight, then there's a 1-year maintenance period. But it sounded like that 157,000 letter of credit would still be in place during that maintenance period. And then there's an additional 82,000 for the wetlands. And then the statement is the letter of credit will be reduced and moved to maintenance upon acceptance from the county. So I'm not exactly sure what is being reduced and to what amount it's being reduced to. And, you know, you're obviously you feel confident that you're comfortable making that recommendation, but what is the reduction? Because it sounds like it's the same.
They're not. And again, just to clarify, Rolling Knolls, what this says is that the city is accepting the infrastructure that was completed. We have reviewed the infrastructure. Any type of deficiencies have been taken care of. Those have all been, whether we took care of them or McNaughton themselves took care of them, all those bills have been paid. All outstanding invoices have been paid. So what happens is during the process of the initial letter of credit, whatever the value was, let's say it was $1 million, that value is decreased as they progress in the work and it's approved. So over the course of the last year and a half, the improvements that have been completed, the developer comes back in and asks for a reduced letter of credit. Based on that, the letter of credit is reduced. Based on this subdivision, the letter of credit was reduced to a minimal amount back in whatever the case is. So that remainder now becomes the minimal or the maximum amount for a maintenance period, which is basically 10% of the original letter of credit. So that's letter of credit number 1 for the infrastructure, the infrastructure in case anything goes wrong. And in addition to that, we have identified that there's some certain amount of concrete curb and gutter that needs to get replaced. We allowed McNaughton to basically use a patching method. We're not very happy with the patching method. We had informed him, and we have monies on fund, actually cash on hand, that we're going to go and contract out with the proposed vendor for the concrete curb and gutter, and the city will replace it, and we will take the reimbursement from the funds that are currently on file. Number 2 is the wetlands. There's a certain protocol that has to be followed with the wetlands, which is governed under DuPage County Stormwater Division. In this particular case, the wetlands have not been accepted yet, and pretty much the reason they really haven't been accepted is it takes probably 2 to 3 years for the wetlands really to get established. Once they get established, the county goes back out there, does an inspection, and says, okay, it has met the plans, the criteria of the plans. City will lead the city, and a developer will get a letter. Now, since we're a partial waiver community, the city basically says, okay, Mr. Developer, we now put you on maintenance for the next year, 2 years, pending the management plan that they forward to us. They have to provide us a management plan. That management plan is by an outside third-party company that basically says, okay, year 1, the plantings are nice, but there's some reseeding that needs to be done, or certain invasive species that need to get replaced. So that letter of credit is in full. We have the full amount of that because nothing's been approved yet.
Right, so you're saying that at some point that may get reduced, but going back to the first letter of credit, that 157, that's still in place?
Yes.
Okay, that was the clarification I wanted to get.
Are they going to replace it with a performance bond, or what are they going to do?
They were talking about a performance bond, but right now this is still a letter of credit. We asked them to forward us the language for review for a performance bond if they do it that way.
Okay. Any other questions on any of the items on the consent agenda? Okay, nobody's going to save me here.
Can we
Keep going on here.
brief run on down on these? Or?
Want us all to read a section of this?
Let's move on to old business, and there being no old business, I'll jump right into the consent agenda. And as Alderman Marquez said, I'd like to identify all of the items that are going to fall under the unit the 2019-2020 unit price project. Those will be item A through double E. Let's see, was it double E? No, I'm sorry, double B. All of the items I'm going to read now will be part of our 2019-2020 unit price projects. Item A, a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract between the City of Darien and Scorpio for the Scorpio construction for the removal and replacement of aprons and road patches. Item B is a resolution authorizing to extend a contract with Orange Crush LLC for bituminous products. And the next item, item C, is a motion to approve a resolution approving a contract extension for tipping and transfer fees from Wilco Green, who used to be known as EF Heil LLC, for the generation, for removing the waste generated by our projects. The next item is a approval of a resolution accepting a proposal from Norwalk Tank Company for culvert metal pipes, metal bands, and metal flared section ends and fitting items. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from XBE LLC at a rate of $82 per load for services relating to hauling waste. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Norwalk Tank for high-density polyethylene pipes, bands, flared end sections, and fittings. The next item is a resolution approving a contract extension with Vulcan Materials, formerly known as Elmhurst Chicago Stone Company, for the purchase and pickup of stone. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution approving a contract extension with Vulcan Materials for the purchase and delivery of stone. The next item is approval of a resolution accepting a proposal from Shreve Services, Inc. for topsoil for the various projects. Next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Norwalk Tank for storm sewer structures, iron sewer gates, concrete adjusting rings. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a renegotiated contract extension between the City of Darien and J.C. Landscaping and Tree Service for the placement of topsoil and the purchase and placement of fertilizer and sod for landscape restoration projects. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution approving to extend a contract with Core and Main LP for pressure pipe. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Grade A Grading LLC for the rear yard drainage assistance program. The next item is approval of a resolution accepting a proposal from J.C. Landscaping and Tree Service for the rear yard drainage program. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Welsh Brothers for reinforced concrete pipe. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Zybel Water Service Products for Smith & Blair stainless steel water main repair clamps, style 2016, with stainless steel bolts for the maintenance of our water system. The next item is the approval of a resolution accepting a proposal from Zybel Water Services for Smith & Blair stainless steel water main repair clamps, style 238, for various projects for maintenance of our water system. The next item is approval of a resolution accepting a proposal from Core and Main LP for general water department utility fixtures. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from EJ USA Inc. for East Jordan CD 250 fire hydrants, valves, and accessories. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Underground Pipe and Valve Company for the Clow Medallion fire hydrant repair parts. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Underground Pipe and Valve for the Clow Eddy F2500 fire hydrant repair parts. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Zybel Water Service Products for the Traverse City fire hydrant repair parts. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from EJ USA for East Jordan Watermaster 5BR 250 and Watermaster 5 CD 250 fire hydrant repair parts. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Core and Main LP for the Mueller Super Centurion fire hydrant repair parts. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Zybel Water Service Products for the U.S. Pipe fire hydrant repair parts. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Underground Pipe and Valve for the Clow Eddy fire hydrant repair parts. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Zybel Water Service Products for Waterous Pacer fire hydrant repair parts. And the last item under our unit price program is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Underground Pipe and Valve for Mueller brand brass fittings for our projects. Moving on to item CC, this is a motion to approve a resolution approving a contract for the 2019 sidewalk, apron, and curb and gutter removal and replacement program with Suburban Concrete in an amount not to exceed $632,195, and to waive the residential 75 permit fee application for our residents for concrete work. Do I have excuse me, keep going. I'm sorry. Next one is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract for the 2019 roadside ditch maintenance regrading program between the City of Darien and Scorpio Construction Corporation for the layout and replacement of storm sewer pipes and structures and grading in an amount not to exceed $1,363,950. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a contract from Eternally Green Lawn Care, Inc. for 6 various fertilizer applications and 3 applications for planting beds in an amount not to exceed $22,827.50 for our 2019 landscape fertilization services. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract extension for the 2019 street sweeping services between the City of Darien and Illinois Central Sweeping in an amount not to exceed $33,802. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the sale of personal property owned by the City of Darien, which is a Ford Expedition and a Vermeer chipper and other various items. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting a proposal from Water Products Company for various water valves for the maintenance of our water system for the period of May 1st, 2019 through April 30th, 2020. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution accepting public improvements subject to the maintenance agreements for Rolling Nose Subdivision, 2100 Manning Road. The next item is a motion to approve an ordinance amending the Darien City Zoning City Code 5A-2-2-3G, which are variation criteria. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the city administrator to execute the intergovernmental agreement, intergovernmental antenna and equipment space agreement with the Village of Addison on behalf of the Addison Consolidated Dispatch Center to locate telecommunications equipment on the Darien Cell Tower located at 1041 South Frontage Road. The next item is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a contract for the 2019 landscape maintenance services within the 75th Street right-of-ways, clock tower, and City Hall complex, and 8 entranceway planting beds between the City of Darien and Eternally Green Lawn Care in an amount not to exceed $7,900, and authorizing a contingency amount of $3,000 for the replacement of plant materials and plant enhancements. The next item is a motion to grant a waiver of the $50 a day fee for the Class J temporary liquor license for Our Lady of Peace. And the last item is a motion to grant a waiver of the raffle license bond requirements for the Darien Historical Society Sunday dinner. Do I have a motion to approve all those items? Alderman Marquez, seconded by Alderman Kenny. The roll, please.
Marquez,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
McIver,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Vaughn.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Many will ask why I go through the process of reading all of those things. Our state legislature has required us to read all of the items live at our city council meetings, so that our viewing residents can see exactly what we're voting on.
Mayor,
But,
just in
yes.
addition to that, all of this backup, though, is on the website. It's always,
It's always
that,
there,
That was the debate all the municipalities were going through, because we do provide all that.
right?
So whatever the council sees in this packet is the same information the public has, and they get a chance to.
They can go
review
on our
all of that.
website
Correct.
anytime, any day to see exactly what we do here.
And it's another PSA, and we brought this up before. There's probably a dozen different fire hydrant, companies for parts and stuff. That's because we have so many different fire hydrants throughout the city. That's why we had all those different companies for parts.
That is correct.
Okay, in case someone's wondering what the heck we're doing.
All right, let's move to new business, and the first item under new business is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the purchase of 14, did we go through the roll on the consent agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Sorry.
I think we did.
Yeah, we went through it.
No,
Did it.
did
No,
we?
we did.
We did.
Otherwise, I would hate to have you read those all
Vaughn
over
said
again.
aye.
Did the meeting start yet?
Groundhog Day.
Thanks, Joanne.
You're welcome.
Okay, here we are, under new business. Item A, a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the purchase of 14 in-car printers from DuPage County Clerk's Office in the amount of $8,400. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Belzak, seconded by Alderman Shower. Sounds like a really good deal. Did they do, Chief, did they do it on a state purchase program? How do they come up with that?
They have a same thing that we have. We have a restricted fund for electronic citations, and so does a portion of that, every citation that's written or word processed, goes into a fund, and so they have a fund that's available to do that. So they, it's an advantage to them is that everybody's on a electronic format, so everybody's tickets go in there electronically versus paper, and then they have to do all the data entry and all the other stuff. So there's an advantage to them as well, and so they offer this pricing. They purchase, and then they sell it back to us for half.
Would a DEA put an option on that? Probably not, right? I'm guessing.
It's a restricted fund, and so there's not very much that you can pay for out of there, and that's what
Okay.
it's set up to do. So that's a proper place to purchase out of there.
Question.
Yes.
What's the printers for? These are for tickets or
Tickets and accident reports and the like that's done in a squad car.
Oh, okay. I haven't got a ticket in a while, so I'm still used
Well,
to
I'm guessing,
We'll make that
like an
change.
accident report, do they have to, in their car, sit and fill out the accident report, which then they have to
They fill out the
hand a copy
report,
to
and
the,
then there's
to the people?
a blank copy that's given to the individual. Then
okay.
that individual also needs a driver exchange form. And so after the officer gets the driver's information and the car information for both drivers or all the drivers, then they exchange that information. So that's also printed out of the system.
And that's saved as well. So that's all electronically eventually once you go back to the police station, and right? So anyone can reprint it or not. Or is this one time the officer prints it off, or is it saved onto like a hard drive or SSD
Well, there's
card?
a couple ways of doing that. One is to give them a card that allows them to go to a website to download it,
Okay.
and then they can
So
do
it's
that
safe.
as well. For the officer, he's entering it only once. He's
Okay.
entering it into the accident report software.
Mhm.
Then he has options from there to what he wants to do with that. And
Oh, okay.
typically, that's just submit into the police record system.
Mhm.
There's no paper document that's ever
Okay.
printed
So
until it's needed
it's
for
kept as a
court.
record,
Kept as record.
in other
Yeah.
words, yeah.
Yep. So-
All right. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, then, if there's no other questions, the roll, please.
Belzak,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Listic,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Marquez,
Aye.
McIver,
Aye.
Vaughn,
That's a good son, Johnny.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
The motion has been approved. Item B under new business is a motion to approve an
pretty
ordinance
aggressive.
authorizing the sale or disposal of surplus property, which is Chevrolet Tahoe, 9 of them. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Kenny, seconded by Alderman McIver. Discussion.
What are these? What are the tiles got on them, the old ones? Are they at 160,000? I mean, they're not worth that much to begin with, but I'm just trying to get an idea.
I think they probably range from 125-ish to 145-ish.
Somewhere in that, okay.
And who does, okay, so there goes to an online auction, I see,
Correct.
govdeals.com.
Correct.
Check that out.
Be careful. All the top stuff.
Okay. Any other questions for the chief on this item?
The money that comes back goes just in the general funds, whatever.
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay.
Do the new cars, they haven't been painted yet?
Yeah, the new cars, I think there's 4, might be, definitely 4. There might be one more. And then there's 2 that'll be delivered yet this week.
That are already been painted with our
It's actually an
insignias?
application, it's not paint, but yes, they're striped and ready to go. And I have been out on the street for about a month or so. Well, start cycling out. So there's 1 or 2 probably hit the road probably about a month ago, and then a couple weeks later, 1 or 2 more.
Okay, thank you. No other discussion, the roll, please.
Kenny?
Aye.
MacIver?
Aye.
Belzak?
Aye.
Clistic?
Aye.
Marquez?
Aye.
Shower?
Aye.
Vaughn?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, that motion has been approved. Let's move to questions, comments, and announcements of a general nature. Do any of the aldermen have announcements to make? That I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn. Alderman MacIver, seconded by Alderman Vaughn. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
What are we
and
gonna
ladies.